near you.
Hello, family. How is everybody doing? Thank you so much for coming to our show. We have something very special in store for you tonight. Before we do that, though, I want to go ahead and give a little shout out to everybody who's here to see us. Looks like we've got Little Twisted here. What's up, Brand? I appreciate you so much for sending those DMs the other day. Hi, Kevin. Thank you for stopping in. Hannah, Susan, George Ann. Looks like we got Lori. Oh my goodness, we have so many beautiful faces in here. Grizzly, how are you?
Oh, doing wonderful. Broadcasting live from Salt Fork, Ohio at the Bigfoot Campout. So I want to give a little pan here, show everybody that's in here. If I turn my little stand around.
Oh, y'all got a full house over there.
Yeah, people are still coming in. So yeah, so what we got going on tonight there, Christina?
So we have a special guest tonight, and I'm going to go ahead and bring him up on the stage. We have Greg Ogles from Relic Films. How are you doing, sir?
Doing very well. How are you doing, Christina?
Oh my goodness, I've had a very, very busy day. I'm so happy to be here with this Outlaw family.
Oh, absolutely, Chris. Good to see you.
Welcome, brother from another mother. How are you doing this evening, sir?
Doing very well. You know, it's been a long week. You know, we've had some recent personal challenges with this week, and it just made for a long one,
Right.
And I'm happy it's getting toward Friday and everything is great.
Absolutely. Well, I just want to give a personal welcome to the podcast, No Coincidences. And this is Christina's show, and welcome, and glad to have you.
Yes, thank you so much.
So excited, Christina. Thank you for having me.
Yes, I know. When he told me you were coming, I was like, oh my gosh, how exciting is this? I can't wait. And I'm not going to lie, I did do some research on you so I can ask you.
Uh-oh. It ain't all true. It is not all true. No.
I have a little list over here, and I have found it very intriguing where you started, right, with your career, which I found that you started out as a traffic engineer. Is that true?
Absolutely.
And
I still do that. So.
Oh, you still do it currently. So how did doing that lead you into chasing aliens and paranormal and doing all the crazy things that we like to do in the Outlaw family?
Well, while I'm in traffic engineering, part of what I used to do, I don't do this part of it anymore, but I used to investigate crashes and, particularly very difficult crashes like fatalities and train incidences, pedestrian incidences. So it's the more difficult ones to investigate. And what I had to do was piece together a lot of information to sort of build a picture of what went on. So I had to essentially solve a mystery, right? And I became quite good at solving the mysteries, and I really actually liked what I did, even though I didn't like the premise of why I was doing it, right? So I was trying to build a picture so that the puzzle that I had just put together doesn't happen again, right? So I took some of these investigative skills with me when I went to investigate essentially Bigfoot, right? I was like, well, I'm used to putting together a puzzle and I'm used to solving mysteries, and I should be able to solve this mystery without any kind of problems, right?
Right.
Well, that was my thinking at the time, right? So actually, when I started getting into investigating, I took these same skills, and lo and behold, I go where the evidence goes, right? I didn't have any preconceived opinions about things. I just wanted to go wherever the evidence led me. Although I will admit that when I first began, I thought that Bigfoot was nothing but like some kind of wood ape, uh, and it would
There he
like
is.
yeah, yeah. Like anything else, I really thought that Bigfoot would be easily solved, and much like the gorillas. The gorillas were just a myth, just over 100 years ago, and I was like, "Well, it's got to be something very similar." Once you put together all the pieces of the puzzle and you identify where these creatures are, and identify their habits, then you can go back in and continuously replicate the sightings and being able to investigate uh, uh, their habitat, their behaviors, and essentially find out everything about them.
Right.
Because that's what animals do. They're just creatures of habit, right? Typically.
Right.
Well. I tell you, our first outing, I was like, we went out and I found these big giant footprints, right? And we wasn't in the woods, but maybe an hour or so. And we saw these big 16-inch footprints. They came from a little knoll, came down to a pond, and sort of walked around the pond and then back deeper into the woods. I was like, wow, there's going to be nothing to this mystery, right? So, we did I did my investigative part on the footprints, and I tell you, I did it to the T, like you would a very, very dry presentation to some more engineers. It was awful and boring. It was very dry. It was just nothing but data, right? Nothing but data.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my God, if I put this on, this is going to be horrible." So we left all of that. It wasn't the first footprints we had. It wasn't the only footprints we had found. Put it that way. That day, we had found some more, another trackway of footprints, and we had found the fingerprints that went around a 4x4 post, and there was 4 fingers on one side and the thumb on the other. And you would have to have a giant hand to go around a 4x4 post.
Right.
We found all kinds of physical evidence on our first day out, and we're like, this is nothing. We're going to find this. Well, again, what kept us from using a lot of that information was just a very lack of presentation ability.
Yeah.
To make things. You have to be entertaining as well as informational.
Right.
Beforehand, when I did a presentation on like a traffic accident, I could just be as dry as I wanted to because I'm talking to other engineers, and they'd have no personality whatsoever. None.
I know my first husband was one.
Yeah. So they don't have a personality. So you can just talk. It's just in dry humor to them. I mean, they actually get
monotone everything, right?
It is, and that's the way I was used to talking. So I had to go back out and kind of redefine what I was really wanting to do, because instead of just presenting data, I wanted to be somewhat entertaining as well. To keep people's interest. That's just what you have to do. I mean, if I were to watch myself, I'm like, this is boring as crap. So I'm just going to change the channel, no matter what I was saying. So anyway, I did take my skills from being a traffic engineer to the Bigfoot world, and I really am grateful for those skills, because it really I do go where the evidence says, or where it leads me. I don't just having a presumption and then disregard evidence that doesn't fit inside my thought process or my little
Right.
teeny parameters. So I'm very glad that I did bring those skills in. Now,
Right.
where I had
Kev has a question for you real quick, which
oh, sure.
he's beaten me to some of my questions. He says, with your obvious love for Star Trek, firstly, what led you to wish to do the amazing fan films? And secondly, who's your best captain?
Picard over
Shut
Kirk.
the front door. Really?
But the original series over the Next Generation.
Okay.
I can buy that. I can.
Yeah. Original series over the Next Generation, but Picard over Kirk. Now I'm really surprised somebody brought up the fan films that it was in. The fan film. I'd love Star Trek. The purpose of making those fan films was so that I could get some practice, both in film presentation, editing, visual effects, and all other aspects of filming, so that I could at least talk somewhat intelligently to some, like my editor and some of the other people that I work
Right.
with, and that I know a little bit about the process of filmmaking. Because when I first started this, I knew zero, zilch, nothing, nada. All I knew how to do was push a button on a camera. That's it.
Right. I wish it was that
Yeah.
easy.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So your fan films,
Mhm.
those were the first ones you produced, right?
They were.
And those come, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember the exact dates on them, but those came after you started doing your Bigfoot searches, because I saw you started Bigfoot in 2013.
We did, yes.
So were you just doing those films literally just to get your foot in the door so you could put more things out about things like Bigfoot, paranormal, things of that nature? Or how did that work out?
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly what it was doing. It was meant as a learning curve for me, but it was something that I always enjoyed.
Nice.
And if anybody actually watched one, Reclamation was one I had written and produced. It's really about Bigfoot on another planet. That's essentially what it's about. If you really watch both sets of films, the Reclamation and Reclamation Part 2, it's essentially about Bigfoot and how Bigfoot comes in and sort of saves the day. It kind of kills the bad guy and saves the doctor who was stranded on a planet and trying to get off. This demon planet. So
Right.
it was just to get my feet wet and like I say, to allow me some. There's nothing like learning like being thrown to the wolves.
That's right.
That is
Absolutely.
that is where you get your real learning from. That's where you can make your mistakes. You can go back and look at your mistakes and learn from them. And we did start the Legend of the Downy Booger in 2013. It took many years to actually put the Downy Booger together, and for various reasons. Number one, there was a big learning curve. Number two, there was lots of phenomena that we experienced during the making of the Downy Booger that happened that caused us many delays. For one, would be like power drainage on cameras. A lot of times when we go out into the field, we'd have perfect cameras, perfect working order cameras, and then we get out into the fields and activity would start happening, and then all of a sudden the batteries on our cameras would start draining, or we would have corrupted files, or just all kinds of weird electronic phenomena would happen, and it would cause delay after delay after delay. So it took many years to put the Legend of the Downy Booger together, and even in the footage that we got, there's still electronic corruption. Like there's a frame that we're actually filming an orb, and we thought, hey, we didn't get Bigfoot, but we've got this nice orb that we've got on camera, right?
Right.
And in post production, we've actually caught something crawling on the ground between us and the orb that we didn't see while we were there.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever it is it's like a spider crawl, like what Bigfoot does. It's it's absolutely enormous. The camera tries to focus on this thing, but it eventually gives up and focuses back out on the orb.
Right.
But yeah, so it's
So if you don't mind me interjecting real quick, I kind of want to give a personal story right here. A lot of the people who are in here have been to many of my other shows and TikTok, and they know that I'm a very spiritual person. I'm what you would consider a high priestess, an empath, a psychic. Many names get given to people like me, right? And I just moved into my parents' house for a short time, but on my house that I just moved out of, I had 5 cameras on it, and I would watch them all the time. I had a ton of paranormal that would always happen around my house. I would see things from gargoyles to giants to witches, and I saw Jesus on my sidewalk once. Like, it's craziness that I saw on my cameras. But when I would show people my cameras, they would go, "Why do your cameras glitch? Why do they turn off on their own? Why did that say it was recording, but then like it's not, it didn't record it?" And I had to explain to people because I live on such a high frequency and I'm of such a high vibration level, and all these other entities are trying to come in and they're trying to create their own vibration level within what's already here. It makes the lights flicker. It makes the cameras not work properly. And I experienced that on a daily basis in my house. And now I just moved into my parents' house, and Grizzly was on with me right before this, and he got to see my dad is actually having to replace the entire electrical outlet box that's in my room because since I moved in, it has shorted.
Oh, wow.
And what it is about my energy or the things that bring with me
is all the energy you use in the universe.
My mother. But I just moved in with him
Christina's mother.
weeks ago, right? He said, "Hi, Christina's mother." But within the last 2 weeks of me moving in with them, like, they're now having to go buy a new electrical outlet box tonight because of all of these things that come with me. And I do cleansings, I do sage the house, I do all these things. It's just because of the high vibrations that I live on, and then the other entities trying to come around with me because they want to be within that vibration frequency.
Oh, that's part of the rabbit hole that we opened up and kind of crawled into when we started investigating Bigfoot. There's other things that we started to experience, the orbs, for example. Okay, when I first started seeing orbs, I was really freaked out because I had never seen an orb before, never even heard of an orb before. It was just this light coming through the woods, and they're not like lightning bugs. It's like a lantern or something like that, And then they start coming toward me,
Right.
And later on, I came across this frequency stuff that you just mentioned, and the higher your frequency, the more the higher your frequency, the more in tune with the higher dimensions you're going to be in touch with.
Right.
And there's also something from engineering that I know is that like attracts like when it comes to frequencies.
Yes.
Like if you take two things that are vibrating at like an identical frequency, they're going to join together and move together.
And they tend to make things stronger as well.
Right. So that's that to me clarifies the law of attraction. So I was wondering why these lights was starting to come up to me, and it really occurred to me that it was because I was dawning on uh, an awakening myself.
Yes.
You know, um, so I had to go through a journey to one come to terms with the old reality that I was taught that it's not necessarily true. You know,
Yeah.
I had to
That's
come to
hard.
terms with that. It is it's very very difficult to come to cross that hurdle, right?
Mhm.
And uh, once I actually crossed it and started to understand how frequency and vibration affects everything, and how you can. I think now, once I've started to personally raise my vibration when I go out, I meditate before I go out. I meditate often, though. Uh, the more experiences I've been able to have with uh, various things, like I didn't believe in ghosts until I saw one.
Right.
I saw one out Bigfooting, and we were actually having orb experiences. They would come in and buzz us, and I mean, it was a really fun night. I wasn't filming that night. We were just out for fun. And
While
then,
you're talking about, oh, I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, while you're talking about the Bigfoot experience, John had mentioned this while you were talking about the crawler, right? He says,
Yeah.
they say the crawler does the spider crawl. Also, do you think they are all in the same?
Do I think they all do the spider crawl?
I
Is that
think
the
what
question?
he's asking is, do you think they are all within like the same realm of the beings type thing?
I don't know. That's a very good. I don't know.
I personally haven't went out and hunted any Bigfoots, but from some of the pictures that I've seen, I think that they come from a multitude of different places. And I've even heard somebody that I know
Mhm.
talk about how they might come from other dimensions.
Well, one of the trackways that we were following on that first day out that I had mentioned earlier stopped in the middle of a field
Yeah.
inexplicably. It didn't jump up into a tree. It didn't, find a rock to hop on from one place to. I mean, it's a field, and the tracks just stopped.
Right. Wow.
Okay, so where did it go?
Right. So we
Okay.
have Kev saying
Mhm.
shapeshifter entities possibly, and we have
It-
Little Twisted saying realms.
Yeah, those are very, very possible. All I know is I went down this rabbit hole, and there's a whole bunch of branches that came out, right? So I'm still gathering data on what these things do. Not too long ago, I actually saw one with my eyes when we were at the Land Between the Lakes, filming our second film.
I was going to
Like,
ask about
yeah,
that.
yeah, like titled conveniently "The Land Between the Lakes."
Yes.
Uh, that was an incredible experience, and it moved unnaturally fast. Okay, so it moved so fast, and so silent, and it was so big. I don't. I have doubts whether that creature was actually from our realm. Whether it be a different dimension or parallel universe, whatever. That much I haven't figured out yet. But I mean, while it was here, it was physical because I saw the darn thing, and we have audio that we recorded with them.
So I have a question about that. You said you had your awakening. What year did you have your awakening?
It was a long process.
Oh, I know it is. I know it
Yeah.
is. I'm that person that when people get around me, they have their awakenings. I kind of cause awakenings, so to speak. So I tend to help a lot of people through that process. But when did it initially start?
Initially started when I first started seeing the orbs, probably 2015.
And do you
It-
feel like it became easier for you to see these beings and entities as you started accepting your awakening?
yes, absolutely. And I'll go as far as saying this: I could see orbs that were clearly in front of us, and my crewmates couldn't at first, and it took them some time before they, some time after me, before they could see what I could see.
That is
Right.
a typical response too.
It
Is it
is.
now?
It is
Yes.
very typical.
Yeah.
And obviously not hunting Bigfoot out here, but I help people through their spirituality sense and a lot of times through mental health as well.
Mhm.
And as you go through that, it's an adjustment to your life to realize that things exist that people don't see and that people are going to
Mhm.
think you're crazy if you talk about it. That's
Mhm.
why I love that I went to school and I've gotten a degree in psychology and I'm able to help people with the psychological aspect of it, but also put the spirituality aspect on it because I obviously have went through my awakening and many ascensions. Like I have done quantum jumps here over the last year, doing my ascensions, and being able to help people understand that they're not crazy. They're not what the psychology community would consider them, but that they're actually going through spirituality. And being able to bring those two things together is absolutely amazing.
Oh,
So-
you're absolutely right. I will say that when you do start to go through this awakening, there's a period that if you're having to go through it by yourself, there's a period where you think, "Am I crazy?" Because I
Yeah.
keep seeing these things, and then as things keep happening, you know, there was another point, and I'm like, I'm just seeing things. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing things. And then somebody else mentioned that they see them, right? And I'm like, hallelujah.
Yep. Isn't it amazing when you can find somebody who has been through what you're going
Mhm.
through and they can help
Right.
you realize, like,
Mhm.
okay, it's not as bad as it looks.
Right. And once I finally reconciled that I was not crazy, in other words, then the process became much easier. And then I started to delve into what was actually happening. And it was sort of like a snowball. Started out real small, my acceptance, and then it just grew larger and larger and larger. As it started rolling down the hill
Right.
and getting into it, and now it's gotten to where when I meditate, I'm like doing my best to have astral projection and contact other beings from higher dimensions and things like just trying to continuously push the envelope,
Right.
trying to continuously expand. But I will say that whatever Bigfoot is, that they're very real. They're very, very real. I just don't know what they are. The orbs are real. I don't know what they are, but they very well exist. And I'll tell you one thing about the orbs is they're either intelligent themselves or under intelligent control, one of the two. But I haven't figured out which one. But they are either intelligent or under intelligent control.
So since you went through your awakening,
Mhm.
have you ever thought that maybe the orbs that you're seeing are spirit guides around you, trying to lead you in a direction?
They could be. You know, we've I've had orbs where they definitely come out and they just hang out the night with us. And I've
Mhm.
had orbs where they just mind their own business and they just keep going, and they pay us no mind. So,
So,
are they my spirit guides? I don't know, but I don't know what they are. I really don't.
So a lot of times when it comes to an orb, this is kind of how I describe to people what source is. And I tell them, a lot of us we grow up seeing that source, God, whatever entity you want to call it, is a man with a beard, right? And when you come into your spirituality, you learn that source is energy. And so when you have energy and it has nowhere to place itself, it's floating around in a little orb, right? And so when you have that, you also can think of, well, we have multiple lifetimes that we get to come through and learn from this school that we're in that's called Earth. And where does our soul go once we leave our body? It has to go out into an orb, right? So orbs can be many different things. They can be source, they can be a soul, they could be a spirit guide, they could be an angel coming to you to give you direction. It doesn't necessarily have to be your spirit guides. It could be meant that it's there for somebody else, but they didn't pick up on it. But since you are of a higher ascension and vibration level, you can see it, and maybe they're trying to get you to guide you to get a message out that they're trying to give out.
It's very, very possible. I don't know exactly what it is. I do know that they will respond to communication.
They gave me all kinds of stuff.
They have a sense of humor. They like to try and spook you every once in a while. You know, the last time I was up at the LBL, I was out investigating with several other people, and this guy Johnny and I were seeing the orbs, but there weren't any long-lasting orbs. There were these short ones that we would see that, you know, zoop, 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 and a few would be, you know, rather long-lasting, but you know, they were clearly not lightning bugs.
Right.
However, there was one that came by and buzzed us, and it came so close that the guy Johnny next to me, he jumped back because he was startled. Right, and it went zoom. It was real close, like 2.5 feet from us. You know, that was really
make you
cool.
feel, Greg, when you're around these orbs and you see them?
It's exhilarating.
Yeah,
it's exhilarating.
Do you feel like it spikes your energy?
Yes,
and like makes you want to do more and keep going?
Yes, yes.
So
yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I became fascinated with them. You know, I started.
I had a couple questions that popped in. I'm going to get to those, but I wanted to mention this one right here. Kevin Emery, he said, enhance it with your heart-brain coherence. And he says he can give the codes if anyone wants to contact him about how to do that. But when you're doing your meditation, I actually learned this from Kevin. When you're doing your meditation, if you do a like a third eye chakra and a brain and a heart connection through your meditation, it brings you to a higher vibration level. It also brings you to more of an understanding of the things that are going on around you, because you're more willing to accept, because everything's in alignment. So doing directly, he says 0.1 hertz is what he just put in the comments. But, you know, getting those two main entities, and if you have a third eye gift, bringing that one in, doing all three of those together, it definitely is, as you just said, exhilarating.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it is exhilarating seeing them. You know, I love seeing them. I don't know what they are, but I've always had positive outcomes whenever I've been around orbs.
Yep.
The Bigfoot that we saw, I mean, it was a little scary, you know.
So,
Georgia, can you describe what it looked like, the size, the shape?
Well, Georgia Ann said Bigfoot is very real now, and they're 11 to 15 foot Bigfoots do come from another dimension. So would you concur with her that they are that big?
The one that I saw was 9 to 9.5 feet. You know, is exactly, I can't say exactly, but it was at minimum 9 feet, and it wouldn't have surprised me if it was 10 feet. However, I was on the back end of a truck, and it was on the front end of our truck, and it was standing there. We were that close to it. You know, how long is a truck? 16, 17 feet, something like that. So we was that close to it. And it was just standing there, and you know, my crewmate's freaking out. You know, he's just, we gotta go, we gotta get out of here, and he's wanting to run, right? I'm like, dude, we're in the middle of the forest. Where are you going to run? Just calm down, you know. And I'm trying to hold on to him literally with one hand, and I remember I've got a camera in my right hand, and I'm trying to, And then I look up amongst all of this, and I see the Bigfoot, right? And I'm like, I've got a camera, right? But I do freeze for. In reality, it was probably a couple of seconds, but it seemed like it was forever.
So look, I don't want to mispronounce the word on this one because I'm not from the Bigfoot community, but Grizzly, you want to talk about this question here?
Could a crawler be actually a Wendigo?
What is a Wendigo?
Greg, what is a Wendigo?
It's a Bigfoot.
A Bigfoot running around with antlers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So his answer to that question is yes, a crawler could be a Wendigo.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are people say that they are, and some people say there are not. Depends on your folklore and where you stand on it. So.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like I'm going to have to look more into this being in this family.
Yeah. There's all sorts of variations of cryptid out there. So, some things I haven't really been accustomed to. So I have to do my research on that folklore as well.
So John said, I've hunted for 48 years until 2021 and never knew they existed. Now I see them so often. And John, I just want to say to you, that's because you are on a higher vibration level now and your eyes have been opened enough so that you can see them.
Mm-hmm. That's got everything to do with it.
Yep.
It's got everything to do with it.
John also said Twisted had trees pushed over in different noises, different weird noises, and just brushed it off as normal.
I would be running is what I'd be doing. I'd be like Greg, holding my camera. I'm out.
Look, y'all should see my war paint as I put it on. Okay, it would scare them off, like putting all my makeup on, because I got to put brown here and white here and cream colored here, and got to put I got to do a whole thing. I look like someone going into combat while I'm putting this on. It would scare any Bigfoot off. Okay.
I wasn't gonna laugh, Greg, but you got me laughing.
Look, just invite me out to the camp and I'll start putting on my war paint. But I won't
could just see Bigfoot coming up and seeing that and like,
See, here's the thing is when I blend it is when it looks good, right? But if I just leave it not blended, I'll scare anything off, I promise. Ask my first 2 ex-husbands.
I think this is an appropriate time to ask Greg when he challenged Bigfoot.
You challenged Bigfoot.
I sure did.
Are you crazy? Hold on, let me do the Grizzly thing real quick. Are you crazy?
She did not.
Yes.
Yeah, his friend died about that one. So, Greg, take us down that path.
Okay. Well, as normal, right, this encounter that we had that was just very intense lasted 20-25 minutes. And as this Bigfoot moved deeper into the woods, the batteries on our cameras died. And we're like, well, crap, we can't do anything else now. And we spent days charging these things, right? So we're putting some of the stuff back up, and I'm like, well, the thing was in front of the truck. Maybe I can go in front of the truck and find some prints. So I'll go to look in front of the truck. I couldn't see any prints, but I'm like, is it still around? So I let out this big growl, right? And it's
You just scared my dog.
Yeah. And about that time, my buddy Brent, who was like, just, I've got to get out of here. He was coming around the truck, right? And just as I let out this loud growl, you heard these 3 stomps, these boom, boom, boom. And it was loud. Clearly stomps.
In the truck and driving.
Yeah. And I look over at Brent and said, did you hear that? He said, yeah, it stomped, and I was like, I'm going to do it again. So I did it again, right? And sure enough, it stomped again. Boom, boom, boom. But it was right at the wood line, right at the edge of the wood line. It moved up real close. And Brent looked He looked over at me like, "Stop doing that shit." I'm like, "Okay, I'll stop," because it got too close. It was real close, but we didn't have anything to record it with, and there was no other than having a personal experience where you might get eaten. There was no other advantage of staying there, right? So we retreated back to the back of the truck with everybody
Yeah, I
else.
would too.
So that was a funny experience now, although it was a bit dicey when we were there.
You might end up having one in the front.
So
That's right.
I'm going to be completely transparent with you. This question has nothing to do with spirituality, Bigfoot, paranormal, nothing. While I was doing my research on you,
Uh-oh.
hey, kinfolk, my mom is from Alabama too, by the way.
Uh-oh.
I have found that you sued the state of Alabama for $1.23.
I sure did.
I said, oh my goodness. My mom, she was sitting there with me. She's from Alabama too, but she's sitting there with me, and she said, he really filed a lawsuit over that. He spent more money trying to do it. I said, but as I looked into it, I saw your reasoning behind it, because it was something to do with the driver's licenses. And, if they're getting $1.23 off of every single person, that's a big deal.
Well, over 4 million people in the state. And, they were overcharging at one in all the lower courts, except when it got to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said that, they essentially said I was right. However, because it affected the Treasury, then the state was immune from lawsuit because it affected the Treasury. I'm like, well, you are overcharging.
Right.
So the Alabama Supreme Court gave the state a license to steal. And when they get caught, there's no repercussions.
Wow. So are they still doing it now?
Absolutely.
Wow. That's crazy. It makes me want to investigate my state.
Yeah. Yeah. Our state's very crooked. It is. We've got so many crooked politicians and government employees. Like, I'm in government myself. I see it. Okay.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I'm like, God, just so unethical. And our ethics commission is their joke. Our executive branch is a joke. It's just all just good old it's just all good old boy systems.
Right.
And if they ever sink your teeth into you for whatever reason, they're not going to give up no matter how wrong they are.
So Little Twisted said all states are, and I'm going to completely agree with her on that. I've lived in several states, and it doesn't matter where you go,
Wow. They went from that
but I'll tell you what precipitated that lawsuit was, I had, at the time, I was very, very broke, very poor. My son's mom and I had separated.
Yeah.
So, I was, paying child support, and I had one check in my checkbook, and it was, time for child support to be paid.
No, you ain't gonna have that.
And I had just enough money, like cash in my pocket, so that I could pay to have a duplicate driver's license. So when I get there to the DMV, it was a nickel more than what I had.
Pretty light pulling,
and they wouldn't give me a nickel, and I had to write a check.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I had to write my last check for my driver's license. And I
That's
was like, I'm going to get my nickel back.
well, look, I'm just going to tell you right now.
That's what precipitated it.
I've been going through a lot of legal issues. I need someone that wants to fight as hard as you did to come represent me. I'm just saying.
Hey, I don't take crap, though.
Macmillan asked, has anyone had ghosts prank them with toys?
Yes, absolutely.
Ghosts have sense of humors. They really do.
I would imagine they do.
And especially, when they are in your home, they're there for a reason. It's probably someone or something that I personally, I'm kind of having to learn about seeing the beings because my daughter she's been going through that. And she tells me that she sees a gray one or a white one or a black one. The black ones are mean, the gray ones are confused, the white ones are nice. So really it's really all about the ghost or the entity that you're dealing with as to how they're going to interact with you.
Mm-hmm.
Little Twisted said, Greg, is that a cat shelf behind you or did your level break?
What?
The shelf behind him.
I can't say it. This my screen's too small. So
Oh Lord.
Talk about the white things.
Yes.
Oh, those.
let me see. Hold up.
That's actually handrails.
Okay.
What do you
those
need
are stairs
handrails on
going-
a wall for?
Huh?
We need handrails on a wall for.
It's the stairs.
So you
lady,
can
right?
grab a hold.
I don't know.
Oh, they're
If you're too
stairs.
drunk to grab a hold to the wall, you have to grab a hold to something. I don't know.
heck,
The
Greg?
county made us do it.
Little
my
Twisted
gosh.
said her ghosts leave her cabinets open. They will do that. They'll leave cabinets, drawers. They'll move your car keys for you. They do anything they can to get your attention when they really want it. I personally had another question that since you mentioned you had your awakening and you've kind of been through all of this, how has your psychic journey been?
Ooh. I just had a paradigm shift about 2-3 weeks ago. Had my
Oh,
first really, really psychic experience that was real. And I'll tell you, okay. A guy in our second film, Bob Wilson, called him Grumpy. He unfortunately has passed away after the interview in this film. And his ashes were spread at the place where we had interviewed him.
Oh.
And he's a dear. He was a dear. Well, I said he was a decent friend of mine, a dear friend to the other group that was there.
You laying there at night like.
And
I can hear my dogs.
we had a group meditation while we were there.
mm-hmm.
And while I had that group meditation, I had a vision of this white orb with a dot in the middle. And I had no clue what that was about. And then, some other images, blah, blah, blah. And I saw Bob. Bob was his name. And I had no idea what, connection they had. Right. So after meditation was over, we're going over what each person experienced during the meditation. And when it came to me, I was telling about this white orb with a black dot in the middle. It seemed just arbitrary to me, but it's what I saw. Well, lo and behold, while on an expedition at that place where we were at, Bob had seen a UFO that was a white ball with a black dot in the middle. And this was prior to me knowing Bob very well, right? But everybody else knew exactly what I was talking about. And it was, once it was revealed that, everybody else knew exactly what that was, it kind of dawned on me like, wow, that was like I was like touched sort of. It was kind of like a psychic experience. And it really, it kind of, it was difficult to deal with. I'll put it that, for lack of another word, it's difficult to deal with. So, I packed up my things kind of hurriedly and left right afterwards because I was having a little bit of trouble dealing with that. And then when I got in my vehicle and was on the way out, I just kind of said out loud, why me? And then it was like I was having a conversation with somebody after that. It was like I could hear it just as just as loudly as like you talking.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it had to be you. And I was like a little bit taken aback, but it wasn't like it was audible. It was more like a telepathic conversation, but I heard the voice loudly. And I said, "What do you mean it had to be me?" And he said that everybody else knew those, that experience, and I had to deliver something so that the others would know that I was there. And it's like, "Why are you there?" And then he said that it wasn't so much the place as it was the place where everybody he loves and considers family gathers. So he wanted to let them know that he was there watching over them.
Yep.
And it was almost like like an argument, sort of like a debate on the way out. And the further I got away from the meadow, the weaker that connection was, and eventually just faded away. And I was a bit shaken up by that,
I was going to say, I feel nerves as you
Mhm.
were going through that. And then I feel as you were walking away from it, you started having a calming experience
Mhm.
of the realization of what you were coming into.
Mhm. Because part of me felt guilty. I felt extremely guilty because I had that experience with Bob, and I didn't know him as well as everybody else did. And
Right.
I was like, why me? 'Cause everybody else deserved to have that experience.
So, on my TikTok platform, when people say, "Why me?" I have a saying that I use for all of them. And I had to remind myself of that saying today. Nothing ever happens to you, it happens for you.
Hmm.
And that happened to help you as you are ascending, right? You're growing in vibration levels and you are coming into something that you didn't realize you had. So that happened so that you could be shocked or awoken to a gift that you were given.
Mhm. Yeah. I tell you, it was a profound experience. And I've experienced a lot of freaky stuff, I'm telling you.
Hey, you girl.
But that was more personal. It was like being touched.
Some of them took and hid my cup.
So I personally don't experience the spirits around me, like being able to see them or feeling them per se. Like I know some people say they can feel them, touch them, or they hear their voices or things of that nature. So my psychic ability is,
Yeah, Neil's a nice
Both
guy.
bears don't.
I hate to say it's kind of rare, but you don't hear many people say it. I hear
Yeah.
other people's thoughts come into my head,
Yeah.
and I have to decipher whether it's my own thought or it's someone around me's thought.
That can
Because
get
I don't
confusing.
hear it in their voice, I hear it in my voice. So I have to sit there and go, "Whoa, that's not something that I would normally." But as I've gotten older, it's something I've learned how to decipher, and I go about my day and be like, "Oh, well, bam, you said this, you said," and I scare people with it sometimes, right? Because like I was on the phone with Grizz the other day, and he was hearing a song in his head. It was the what is it? Adele, "Rolling in the Deep."
Oh,
And
see, he must have got embarrassed.
I bet you his internet went out here.
No,
I'm
I
gonna
was
just
kidding.
drop him backstage until he comes back on the camera. But yeah, he was hearing this song in his head, "Rolling in the Deep," and he wasn't like saying anything about hearing it. But I sat there. Oh, there he is. He came back. Let's throw him back up on stage with us. But I sat there and I started singing.
All
I
right,
was
I'm
like,
back.
"Rolling in the
Sorry about that.
deep," and he was like, "What song are you singing?" And I was like, "Adele, Rolling in the Deep." He was like,
Let's see.
"How was that in my head?" And you just started singing it. And
Can you
I'm
hear
like,
me?
"Yeah, we can hear you."
Uh-uh.
No, I can't hear you all.
Oh, I can hear him.
I can't hear him.
Grizzly, can you hear me?
I might have to pause and hit play
One of the
again.
team members.
Grizzly. Grizz. Grizz.
One of the
Mic
team
check.
members
Grizz.
saw.
Hey,
No,
Grizz.
he's
Let me
having
go back
issues.
out.
You might have to go back out here. I'm gonna go ahead and
Here, I'll
drop
let
him
you go back in.
down real quick.
Yeah, I could hear him. I
Um,
was just teasing him.
he'll be all right. He's fun to tease. He's got a good heart.
Oh, I love Grizz. He's a good man.
But I hear them in that sense, right? I hear them in my own head and I hear their thoughts and it's just really kind of weird. But then not only do I experience that, but I feel what people are actually feeling. So like if your back was hurting right now, I would feel it and I would be able to tell you what kind of back pain you're having, or like if your knee was hurting or whatever. I can feel all of the energies, even through the computers, through technology. I feel that with people that I'm interacting with. So it's something that, as you were saying, you were like, well, it was something I experienced for the first time. You just kind of grow into it and grow accustomed to what you've got going on. Oh, he popped back up. We're going to try this one more time.
I'm sorry. I'm not used to doing it on the phone.
Can you hear us now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Hello?
Hello?
So yeah, that's how I experience it. And I do have other experiences, but those are my two major gifts that I have, is being able to hear what is going on and being able to feel what's going on. But everybody is different. And I love helping people on their journeys and answering questions when they have one, because I get to come across so many people that have these things that I ask questions.
Well, I have a ton of tons of questions, because I've had to kind of come across this just like by myself. And the journey is I'm having to make a lot of assumptions, and I hate to make assumptions on anything.
Right.
Because if you assume wrong, then bad things can happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know the downfall to all this, but I do know that I think I have a mission to help help raise the vibrations of those people that I come across, so that they can interact with and even just acknowledge that there's other beings,
Right.
other than what is in our realm.
Well,
It's nice.
I'm always here if you have questions. You can find me here on TikTok, all the social medias, or get a hold of me through Grizz, whatever. But
It has an
I
island in the kitchen.
sorry, my internet's cutting out. I want to make sure you guys can hear me. Apparently, these conversations are not supposed to happen right now because we're having this technological attack.
I do have a question for Greg, though.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the podcast that we're on is called No Coincidences. What does that mean to you?
Well, to me, it means that there are beings around us that maybe guide us into things that where they want us to be, or helping us guide to where they want to be. For
This place, Bear, all right.
For example, you go through things for a reason, good or bad. You go through them for a reason if you learn a lesson. And coincidences, things that happen, they happen for a reason. And the reason could be for a lesson, or it could be to set you up for something else. I'll use this as an example. A car that I had bought my son when he was 16, right before he went off to college, the car's transmission started to mess up. So instead of buying a new transmission, repairing it, I bought him a new car. Well, not long ago, my son was involved in a very traumatic wreck where his car was totaled. He suffered a traumatic brain injury. But, he's fine now. However, if he would have been in the other car with lesser safety devices, he probably would not have walked away. He probably wouldn't be here now.
Wow.
So
A hurry.
if his old car had not torn up, then he wouldn't have been in a position with the new car to have survived that crash. He would have still been in that old car. So, like I say, it was no coincidence that his old car messed up. So it's I look at even bad things happen for a reason. When we built this house, the house that I'm in, we started out in 2019. There was 11 times that we had to have $3,000 or more in 1 year, or we would have tanked. We would have lost the house. We would have lost everything. And 11 times, right before this money came due, money popped out of nowhere. Just literally out of nowhere, out of accounts that we didn't know we had, government stimulus or whatever the reason. And there was one time we needed $13,000, and we found an account that we didn't know we had that had $14,000 in it. So we always got just enough money to be able to help us along so that we could be in this home. Things happen for a reason.
That's right.
So that's my definition of coincidence. Of a coincidence.
I didn't ask for.
Oh, absolutely. I totally agree with that. And a lot of people don't understand that concept until they stop and think what they've been through and what life has treated them and how they treated them.
Right. And, a lot of times if you go through a bad situation, if it's done to you, for example, it's somebody that doesn't treat you well, I kind of look at it like
I should have been born in the South.
Yes, you should.
that person didn't really fail me. It just shows me what I don't want. So they didn't fail me. They taught me a lesson, right? So that lesson was, I don't want this in my life. I want to go a different direction, right? So I take it as a positive. So even though it's certain people count it as a bad situation, if you look at it in a different way, it just, you can turn any kind of negative into a positive.
Yep. And that's why I named my show Coincidences, because nothing ever does not have a purpose in life. It's all meant to be a learning lesson, a teaching lesson to help us with our growth. With that being said, we are a little bit past our time for the show, but I did want to do a card pull for each of you before we leave, because
hey, I love
Lordy.
Is something that I love doing. So what I did was I did a single card pull for each one of you out of my Akashic Records cards. And the first one that we got is for Grizzly. And it says, pay attention. You're out hunting Bigfoot tonight. You better pay attention.
What the heck? Shut the front door, guys. Really?
But it says, you're being asked to pay extra close attention to the signs you're being given, both the subtle ones and the ones that can't be missed. These signs will help you see how to best move forward in order to live your best life. Have fun living your best life out there with Grizzly Outlaw doing all his
where's
crazy
Thomas?
stuff.
Thomas is sleeping with me tonight.
His internet went out again. That's great.
I don't know. I'm here.
You're here.
But I don't know.
Thomas needs to put some
Don't
fish
even
out
go
by
there.
his tent.
He's got his own cot. That's the only thing I'm saying. His own air mattress. I got my queen. He's got his single. That's it.
Thomas needs to put some cooked fish out by his tent.
So for Greg,
We got
release attachments. And this says there's something you need to let go of. It's either a limiting belief, an untruth, or negative behavior. It's holding you back and keeping you from stepping into your true potential and happiness. So I'm hearing that you maybe have something from the past that you need to finish resolving, and that's going to help you release the rest of that potential that you're currently experiencing. With that being said,
Nice.
this is going to be the
And
end of
don't
our
forget, we're going live tonight around the fire. What time?
9 p.m. Eastern. We're going live
Yes, we're going to
around the
broadcast
fire
live
on
tonight, ladies and
TikTok.
gentlemen, on TikTok. Make sure
Yep.
and tune in on Bigfoot Outlaw. And Greg, man, it's been such a pleasure. I'm so honored. Thank you for so much for coming on, sir.
Yes.
Oh, thank you for having me, Christina. Thank you so much. We'd love to talk to you further.
Yeah, for sure. With that, Greg, how can we find you if we want to contact you?
You can find me on Facebook, Greg Ogles. Just look me up. You can find me on Relic Films. We also have a Facebook page, and you can go on YouTube, Greg Ogles with Relic Films. You can catch us there, and lately on TikTok at Relic Films.
Nice. Well, I'm definitely going to be looking you up. I've enjoyed this conversation so much. Grizzly, I think everybody in here knows how to get a hold of you, but can you tell us all the places we can find you? Oh, don't tell me his internet went out again. You can't hear me? All right. So I'm going to help him out a little bit.
I can't hear anything, but I love you guys.
Oh, okay. I was asking you to tell us how we can find you. No? Okay. So you can find Grizzly on Facebook at Grizzly Chris. You can find him on TikTok under Bigfoot Outlaw. Or, of course, you can find him right here on his very own channel. For me, you can find me on TikTok at All Witchy. You can find me on Facebook, All Witchy Christina. And on Instagram, Christina All Witchy. So with that, I want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We're broadcasting from coast to coast all around the world, and we hope you have a beautiful evening.
Coming to a YouTube channel near you.